Good morning. Happy Thursday to you all. Big day for the Pittsburgh Penguins today. A massive matchup against the New York Islanders. But first, is Alex Nylander going to be in the lineup tonight? Should he be in the lineup tonight over someone like Jeff Carter? We're going to get into that, plus all of the other lines and defensive pairings that you will expect to see for this game coming up right after this drop.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember, follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow this show's Twitter at Analyst for Penguins. And, of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. Rocking a different shirt for the YouTube audience today. My very OG Shadow of Mordor shirt. And, yes, that is a great game. If you have not downloaded that or played it, this is just a little first of the two Lord of the Rings games. Anyways, getting a little off track. But Penguins Islanders tonight. 7:08 p.m. face-off, AT&T Sportsnet for those in Pittsburgh, MSG for those in New York. Obviously, people that watch on ESPN Plus if you're not blacked out. One of the biggest games of the season. You have to beat this team. We'll preview that in just a second, but let's look at the lines that you will expect to see. Penguins had a full practice on Wednesday. Apologies for not getting that full episode up. Just a couple of things popped up, which, I apologize on. I don't really like missing episodes. It's just very annoying that happened, but we're back early today. Change of plans. I'll be recapping the game for my Friday episode while also previewing the weekend to come against Philadelphia and New York. But, we did see a little bit of some different lines, kind of yesterday. So Penguins had the full practice, and it was Gensel, Crosby, Raquel, Zucker, Malkin, Rust. O'Connor was on the left wing with Dan Heinen alongside Mikael Granlund with Jeff Carter and Alex Nylander. Ryan Poehling with Danton Heinen on the left wing, and then Bonino and Josh Archibald. Let's just stick with the forward. So top six is going to remain the same. There is no reason to touch that. Now, bottom six. I like Drew O'Connor on the left wing. Granlund at center, I don't really know how much it's going to truly move the needle. It is good that they have moved Carter to the wing because I think at this point in his career, yeah, he's very washed, but if you're going to play him, that's the spot to play him. He was getting reps with Alex Nylander there. Mike Sullivan was talking very glowingly of him after practice. That said, I probably would not expect to see him in the lineup tonight, especially with Granlund back from being sick. And congratulations to Brian Russ and his wife on the birth of their second child. So he is also going to be back in the lineup for this game. But should Nylander be scratched, though? No. And again, I am not this massive Alex Nylander fanboy / simp / whatever you want to call it. There's a interesting segment in the Penguins fan base that is very crazy about him. Don't really know why. I guess just because people think he's going to be the next Brian Rust or Jake Gensel. Hint, he's probably not. I think those are just a dime a dozen, and those are the exception, not the norm. But I think this is still a player that can help this team. Maybe not to the level that they have since they came up from Wilkes-Barre. I know they were obviously developed in-house, but you see where I'm going. I thought he played very well last game. It was a good debut. He got his first point with the Penguins, fired a lot of good shots on net, played well defensively. I think his expected goal share was almost 80%. His shot attempt share was well over 50 to 60%. He took shifts with Evgeny Malkin, Jason Zucker. Very promising debut. But it's probably going to come at a cost because, again, they had to run 11-7. You're going to get a couple forwards back who couldn't play. You're going to sub out a defenseman, which I'll get to in just a second. He's probably going to be on the next bus ride back to Wilkes-Barre. That said, I would still give him a little bit of leeway, and I would still bench Carter, but I also know that's not going to happen because they're, for some reason, very infatuated by Carter. At this point, Carter really only does well with faceoffs. I think that's the only thing that he can consistently do at least a decent job of at this point in his career. They put him out there for overtime faceoffs. That's been a new wrinkle. They've been winning a lot more overtime games, so I'll take that. Otherwise, he sometimes wins them at 5-on-5. He's not scoring. He's not producing any assists. He's not playing well defensively. He's a black hole out there. But, they don't see it that way. And it's both the management's fault and it's the coaching staff's fault. Mike Sullivan still deploys Jeff Carter like he's Patrice Bergeron out there. And that's a problem. I'm sorry. Like that is, he is, he is in his late 30s at this point. What are we doing here, people? But I would really like to see Nylander play in these games and just give him a run up in the top six. You can move Russ down to the third line. And, I'm not really sure how big of a difference it's going to make, but you also just, why not? You've won 5 out of 6. You're in the playoff race. He just had a good game. See what you can do for a full game with Jason Zucker and Evgeny Malkin. I really don't think the Penguins have anything to lose there in that sort of situation. I don't really think it's going to make like a massive impact in terms of them winning versus losing. I think if anything, it improves their odds to win more than it does to lose. And Rust, that also helps out Granlund and someone like Heinen or O'Connor down there because, Rust is a playmaker, can also score. Granlund, a little bit more of a playmaker. He can dish the puck to Rust or O'Connor, who's been playing well lately. I think that kind of line would make a lot of sense. But, I know they shipped 2/3 of that makeshift third line with McGinn, Carter, and Kapanen, but they just won't do it with Carter because the loyalty, the respect, he's been in the league a long time, yada, yada, yada. It's very annoying. It's stupid. But that's how I see it, at least. I would put him in there. The coaching staff spoke very glowingly of him. I mean, even Brian Burke last night, if I scroll up here on my Twitter here, and if I can, let me just get this quote for you all. And, that was the wrong quote. He was speaking about, here is the quote. He said, "We were very pleased with his progress as a player." Brian Burke said this. "And has not been as fast as maybe we would have liked, but it's been steady, and he's really turned into a complete hockey player. Last night, we were awful, but we were all awful. After that, we played well, and Alex was part of that. He played very well. I am not sure how long he's going to stay right now because we have roster and cap issues. We're all trying to find the guy who did this," Brian Burke and Ron Hextall. "It might be a brief stay, but we don't know yet. But he certainly acquitted himself well, and he's earned a second shot if he does get sent back. He'll get another shot, I think." That should tell you all you need to know. He's going to get sent back down in pretty short order. It should not be happening. He should be playing over Carter and maybe a couple other players. It stinks that that's going to be the case. I'm glad that they had some more youth in the lineup, someone that, it's just a new face. And again, maybe he does surprise me and he turns into the next Brian Rush or something. Very doubtful because he's 25 years old at this point in his career. But also, I just, if he can turn into a productive bottom six player, I will count that as a win. And I'll probably still take the L because I didn't even think he was going to be that when he got traded for Sam Lafferty. So, really good start. Wish we were going to see more of it. I don't think he's going to play tonight. We'll have to see. But, the fact that they have to send him down due to roster and cap constraints, wow. It's almost like, again, we're trying to, it's the banana mammy. We're trying to find the guy who did this, right? Other stuff from the lines that we saw. So Mike Sullivan did change up the defensive pairing. So Marcus Pettersson with Chris Letang, Brian Dumoulin with Jeff Petry, Dmitry Kulikov with Jan Rutta, P.O. Joseph with Joseph-Ruhwedel. My thoughts. I like that Pettersson is back with Letang. I do get that Pettersson Petry has been one of the best second pairings in the league this year. I think they've actually been one of the best pairings overall. Underlying numbers support it. They have been electric. If I can try to load that up here on Money Puck just real quickly, to try to find the analytics for this. If I can actually try to navigate this website, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I know in terms of overall, pairings. Okay, just defensive pairs only. Yes. Yeah, that's the Pettersson-Rutta pairing. That's not Pettersson-Petry. Pettersson-Petry, they've played 498 minutes at 5-on-5 this season. They have an expected goals rate of 55%. Expected goal. So that is very, and I mean very, very good. Expected goals for per 60, 3.3. Again, another strong number of expected goals against per 60 minutes, 2.66. So very, very strong numbers. I know you hate to see it broken up, but they want to give Dumoulin some less minutes because he can't play top minutes at this point in his career. And he's also been struggling a little bit more as of late. Pettersson and Letang have played well. this season. The fact that Pettersson Rutta is up there in terms of, if I can just get this here. Yeah. The fact that they are up there in terms of expected goals just goes to show how much Pettersson has carried Jan Rutta this season, because with every other defenseman, Jan Rutta has been total crap. And, with Dumoulin, we all know Dumoulin Rutta has been a disaster. Dumoulin Letang has not been really that much better. It's been maybe a little bit better, but you're splitting hairs. Let's see how he does with Petry. That's maybe Jeff Petry can carry him as well. Kulikov, Rutta, I think you're just asking for a bad time. I was not particularly impressed with Jan Rutta's play in that game on Tuesday. I thought he was horrendous. He was giving away goals like they were pieces of candy on Halloween. Hopefully he'll improve for this game. And then same for Kulikov. Wasn't really too impressed with him. I don't think he did anything offensively. Defensively, he was kind of a little bit of a wreck in his own zone. Maybe it was for some first game jitters. Who knows? They want to get him acquitted with the system. We'll have to see. But wasn't really impressed with either of them. And it's unfortunate that it looks like if they're going to go 12-6-2 tonight, that P.O. Joseph is going to be left out, because I thought he played well, and I don't think he deserves to be sitting right now. But that does it for this first segment. Coming up in the second segment, how can the Penguins finally defeat the Islanders tonight? We're going to touch on that. But before we get to all that, it's time to touch on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Locked On. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is bonus bets back if your first bet does not win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drain. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss a chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and Locked On. All right. I'm back here in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am, of course, your host, Hunter Hodes. You want to follow me on Twitter, Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter, @Penguins. Of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. So, Penguins Islanders tonight, the final meeting of the season. They're probably not going to play in the playoffs. And the Islanders have swept the season series so far. All 3 wins. Penguins should have won the last 2 if they would have gotten a save from anyone. And the Islanders lately, they are playing some much better hockey. And I think that's due to them getting back to their system. Ever since they beat the Penguins on February 20th, they beat the Jets 2-1. They lost to the Kings 3-2. They beat the Jets 4-0 again. Lost to the Wild 2-1. Beat the Red Wings 4-1, and then they just beat the Sabres. They have gone back to that very boring identity that we all saw in the Barry Trotz era, where they're just kind of trapping, they're sitting back, letting you make mistakes, playing their very defensive-minded system, and that is the reason why they have gotten really into the playoff race now. It actually might be one of the favorites to sneak into the playoffs this season, because Buffalo and a lot of the other teams behind them are just not playing as well as good of hockey right now. Penguins going to have to be patient tonight. They can't be running and gunning against this team, especially with how they've been playing lately. It's weird that the Islanders are doing this, especially without Jean-Gabriel Pageau and Matt Barzal. I mean, Barzal's their best offensive player. They are winning games without him, and I'm stunned by it. Like, he is a lot of their offensive identity, and the fact that they are winning all these games, it just goes to show that, how everyone knows their role in that system. Bo Horvat has been awesome since coming over. Anders Lee's been good. Zach Parise, Brock Nelson's having another very good season. This team is playing well, and this is going to be a very tough game for the Penguins to win. You look at their lines. Anders Lee with Bo Horvat and Pierre Engvall. Engvall just came over from the Maple Leafs in the trade deadline. Zach Parise, Brock Nelson, Kyle Palmieri. Nelson, massive Penguin killer. He does it every game against them. I think he scored in all 3 games against them this season. In terms of Jordan Eberle, he's probably not quite there, but he's just behind him. Parise has also killed the Penguins throughout his career. Palmieri, I feel like, has as well. Matt Martin, Casey Cizikas, Hudson Fasching, he's one of their new players this season. Simon Holmstrom, Otto Koivula, and then Josh Bailey on the 4th line. Bailey's also a Penguin killer. Adam Pelech, Scott Mayfield, Alexander Romanov, Ryan Pulak, Sebastian Aho, Noah Dobson, and then goaltending-wise, Ilya Sorokin, Semyon Varlamov. I do think Ilya Sorokin is going to get the start in this one. This is a huge game. You cannot get swept by a team that you're in direct competition with for a playoff spot this season. That would, obviously look really bad. And also, I don't think the Islanders are truly that good. The Penguins have brutally outplayed them in 2 of the meetings this season. You have to get the saves. I understand that Ilya Sorokin has been a thorn in the Penguins' side ever since he really made his debut against them in the playoffs just a few seasons ago. But, they've played well enough against him in the meetings this season, at least in 2 of them, where they deserve wins. They put 4 on him in the second meeting where they had the 2-goal lead, not once, but twice. Even in the second meeting, he was playing good, but you still had that 2-1 lead heading into the third period, and then Tristan gave it away because his conditioning was not that good, and he gave up a couple of goals that he should not have given up. You have to get the saves. I do expect Tristan to get back in the net tonight. He has to be better than he was on Tuesday against Columbus. He gave up at least 1 goal, the 4th one against the Blue Jackets. I did not really like it at all. It's just a shot that cannot go in. Honestly, the first one I didn't really like either. I thought he was too slow with his movement across. The other 2, I'm not really going to fault him. I thought the Penguins were really horrendous defensively there. But he needs to play a lot better in this one. The Penguins also, again, have to be patient. The Islanders right now, they're not giving much in the way of scoring chances to the opposition. When you get one, you better make sure to finish it because Sorokin is not going to give you a lot of freebies. He has been awesome this season, one of the best goaltenders in the league, probably is going to be a Vezina Trophy finalist. You have to make sure when you get good scoring chances, you don't try to overpass, try to be too cute. Just fire it on net, get traffic in front of them. Do what you did in that second matchup. You got 4 goals on him because you're getting traffic in front of him and you're making it impossible for him to make saves. You have to do that. And, of course, get better goaltending. I want to see the special teams improve. They have been so freaking bad this season. Even the power play at home lately has just been dreadful. I don't care that they scored on that 4-on-3 overtime goal. They were looking terrible on it before then. Sidney Crosby put more into that slap shot than I think I've seen him put into a shot all season, which is saying something because I think he puts a lot into his shots. But, penalty kill needs to be better. They've given up 21 goals in the last 21 games. That's with Teddy Blueger, people, even before he got traded. Unit was not doing a goddamn thing. Needs to be better because even the Islanders' power play is honestly not that good. So those are my main keys. I want to see Mikael Granlund actually show up first couple of games. I mean, the first game was okay. He actually had Jeff Carter above 60% in terms of Corsi and expected goals. But, second game, struggled a little bit. Let's see how he does at center here, if he does indeed play at center. But, in terms of the playoff race, these are games you have to win. And I'm going to touch on this actually in just a second. Penguins just announced that they are going to be making $30 million of upgrades to PPG Paints Arena. We'll touch on that coming up in the next segment. I'm going to load that up on my phone. But again, with where the Penguins are in the playoff race right now, heading into tonight, March 9th, 2023. Penguins have 3 games in hand on the Islanders. They're 1 point behind them. Behind the Penguins, Panthers 3 points. Penguins have 2 games in hand on them. So if the Penguins win those 2 games, they are 7 points up on the Panthers. But behind them, Buffalo, Ottawa, 5 points. So is Washington. The Red Wings, 6 points behind them. The Red Wings came back to beat the Blackhawks on Wednesday. You got to win this game, especially to avoid Boston, to show that you cannot get swept by a team that you are in direct competition for. And again, the Islanders, I am sorry. I really do not think they are that good of a team, especially without Matt Barzal. JG Pageau is not there. I don't think he's going to play tonight, but we'll have to see. I think he's been getting closer to return. But, this is a game you have to win in terms of the playoff race. So, in terms of some other numbers against the Islanders, Penguins 4-3-1 in their last 7 games against the Islanders. They're 8-4-1 also in their last 13 against the Islanders. They've also won 5 of the last 6 games at home against the Islanders. Obviously, the 1 loss being in regulation. They also only have 5 regulation losses in their last 20 matchups versus the Islanders dating back to 2020. So it's funny. They actually do play decently well against the Islanders, except just this season where they've forgotten how to play against them for some oddly divine reason. But that's what I have for this segment. Those are my main keys for this one. How do you think they can beat the Islanders tonight? Let me know down in the comments, or you can send me a DM on social media. Coming up in the final segment, we're going to get to a couple of other comments made by Brian Burke about Mikael Granlund and the acquisition that he spoke on with Wilkes-Barre's broadcast on Wednesday night, plus the upgrades that are coming to PPG Paints Arena. Stay tuned for that coming up right after this commercial break. All right, we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at _ Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So let's start with the plans for $30 million of upgrades to PPG Paints Arena. I have the email right in front of me. So they say, highlighting the team's plans are the addition of 2 new bunker suites at ice level and an all-inclusive VIP event level club to provide premium experiences for hockey fans and concert guests. So basically, an all-new VIP event level, 2 new bunker suites. Construction is set to begin this offseason, and it'll be ready before the start of next season. Also, the team plans to build 2 additional bunker suites next to Penguins runway and bench adjacent to the Suite 66, which is for Mario Lemieux. These improvements will offer premium lower bowl seating as well as dining and entertainment space, full service bars, and private restrooms. All 3 suites will have an exclusive view of areas outside the Penguins locker room on the event level. I am sure those are going to be very pricey. If you like to get on that, you can do that heading into next season. In addition, the team is building a new all-inclusive VIP event level club located in the Penguins double attack zone with access to Section 109 for hockey games and special premium seating next to the stage for concerts. This can accommodate up to 300 people. Again, I am sure this is going to be very, very expensive. Capping off the improvements is the investment to upgrade the entire in-game entertainment technology system at PPG Paints Arena. These improvements include a new 50 by 33 foot state-of-the-art center hung scoreboard, about twice as large as the existing scoreboard, new ribbon boards, sound system, control room, and content management system. These improvements include financial support from the arena's owner, Sports and Exhibition Authority, and are targeted to enhance the overall fan experience. So brand new scoreboard, that is going to be really cool, as long as it's not as big as the Dallas Cowboys one down in Fort Worth. I think we're looking fine there, but those are some pretty cool upgrades that are coming to PPG Paints Arena. They're investing a lot in them. Let me know what you all think down in the comments and in my DMs if you want to talk about that. Now, finally, to end the show, some comments made by Brian Burke last night on the Wilkes-Barre Scranton broadcast. So he spoke a lot about just the trade deadline overall. Spoke about Dmitry Kulikov. He said we needed to add a depth defenseman, and Kulikov is a guy who's had a great career. Not just a great career, a good career, but he's had a little, that was a weird quote, but he's had a little renaissance the last year and a half or so. His play has let off and really picked up, we think. Okay. Whatever. I'm not really going to think too much into that. Spoke about Nick Bonino, said a lot of good stuff about him. And then this was the money quote here. Mikael Granlund was a guy we tried to get last year. First off, thank God they did not get him last year, because they probably would not have been able to go get Rickard Rakell, which would have stunk. Where would this team be right now? And honestly, last season without Rakell. He continues, everyone says it makes your bottom 6 forwards better. I think it makes your top 7 forwards better. We view him, this is the money quote, we view him as a top 6 guy that can help out. He can do any job on a hockey team. That is my reaction to that. A facepalm. I am sorry. I like Mikael Granlund. I think he is a very fine player. To say that he is a top 6 player on a contending team right now is flat out laughable. He's not. I understand he had 64 points in 80 games last season. That is totally fine. But, if you go to evolvinghockey.com and you look at some of these numbers, if you do the last 237 games played data going back from, this season, last season, and the year before, he ranked in the 6th percentile for overall, 37th percentile for even strength offense, the 2nd percentile for even strength defense. Heck, if you look at goals above replacement, -3, which is not good for even strength defense, even for even strength offense, not even about 1. Penalties, he draws a little bit. Power play offense, he can give you a little bit on the second unit. But, this has been a player in decline for the last couple of seasons. I understand he had good production last year, but he also played with Matt Duchene, Philip Forsberg, and Roman Josi. If your production isn't good with those guys, that would be even more concerning, to be honest. So it's just, he is not a top 6 guy anymore. His passing ability is obviously very good, but he's not a shooter. His defense stinks. He's making $5 million per year for the next 2 more years. I don't know how you can say that guy is a top 6 player in this league at this point. I think that's a very laughable statement, and I think that shows that the Penguins player evaluation process is very, very odd, to say the least. And it's only been 2 games. Let's see how he plays tonight. It's just, I don't know about that one, Berkey. I really don't know about that one. I think you could have gotten someone a little bit better. That is fine, money wise. I really think the game is starting to pass both Brian Burke and Ron Hextall by if they're saying stuff that they still think he's a top 6 player. I mean, that's just not accurate in the slightest. Good third liner at this point in his career. I think that's fair to say. Fourth, I don't think he's a fourth liner. I think that's maybe a little unfair, but third liner is fine. To say he's a second line winger on this kind of team with how this top 6 is, it's not true. Not at all. But that's really all he had to say in terms of those comments. We'll have to see how he does. He's playing center, it looks like, tonight. We need to see how that goes. But that does it for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Really appreciate all of you listening. Again, apologies after a couple things came up for Wednesday. I don't really like missing episodes. I've been really good the last few weeks about not missing any, but that's not going to be the case moving forward. For Friday's episode, we will fully recap the game against the Islanders, see if they can get that big, big win, and then we'll also preview a big weekend ahead. Flyers game on Saturday afternoon, and then a massive game against the New York Rangers. Penguins only 6 points behind the Rangers right now. If the Penguins can get the result tonight and win in regulation, I'm making sure who the Rangers, because the Rangers do play tonight as well. And if the Rangers lose to the Canadiens in regulation, Penguins will all of a sudden be 4 points back of them. And then if we go to Saturday, the Rangers will play Buffalo. Penguins beat the Flyers and the Rangers lose to the Sabres in regulation. All of a sudden, the Penguins are 2 points behind the Rangers heading into that game on Sunday. Again, maybe it's a little bit unlikely to happen because the Rangers play Buffalo and Montreal in these next 2 games. I would have to assume they'll get at least a point, if not 2, out of that. But, crazier things have happened. Could the Penguins be 2 points back of the Rangers going into that game? We'll have to see. But these are big games. It's crunch time. We got a month to the playoffs. Every game is important. It really, comes to a head tonight. Gotta beat the Islanders. Have to win that game, especially in regulation. You win that game, you go a point up. Still got 3 games in hand on them. Huge for the Penguins. Again, thank you all so much for listening. Really appreciate it. I'll be back on Friday as we'll recap the game and preview the weekend. Have a great rest of your day.